Welcome to A Court of Fairies and Fangirls. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is a Sarah J. Maas fan podcast where we are obsessed with her books and can't stop thinking about it or talking about it. So we figured, why not record us thinking and talking about it? So
we're going to break down chapters, go through each book separately, go into character analysis and any thoughts or kind of theories that we have about books, characters, plots, etc.
And maybe play some fun games along the way.
Exactly.
So welcome and enjoy. This is our mini-sode, our first mini-sode.
Yes.
Where it is full of spoilers.
Yes, so don't listen if you don't want to hear spoilers.
Yes, if you have not read this entire series up through A Court of Silver Flames, all of it's fair game in the minisodes.
Yes.
So, warning, flashing red signs. Don't blame us if something is spoiled and you have continued listening past this point. Right?
Yes.
So, we thought, we just talked about the first few chapters that set up Feyre, and we got to meet her family. So let's talk about the Archeron sisters.
Yes.
Which, are we pronouncing that correctly? I think it's Archeron.
I feel like the problem with books is everybody has it in their mind how to pronounce names and words differently. There's no actual reference point of how to pronounce. And it's all up to interpretation. And so, I mean, Feyre, thankfully, they did an enunciation in the book they're slowly yelling her name syllable by syllable. So I was like, oh, that's great, because before I was pronouncing it fair. And so I was like, oh, I'm pronouncing that wrong in my head. Obviously, I'm not saying it all out until now. But
our copies of the book don't have it, but when I first read this in the original print version, she did have a pronunciation guide in the back.
Oh.
So for but if I'm thinking through it, it was like the most basic things. Like it had Feyre, it had Tamlin, it had like Prithian, it had Rhysand.
Right.
Which I know you do not like to pronounce it.
Whatever.
It's what it is. That's fine. But so it did have those like very basic pronunciations, but I don't think it had the last name.
Yeah. But Archeron sounds correct.
I think that's right.
That's how I would say it. That's how you say it. That's what we're going to go with.
Okay.
And
so the Archeron sisters.
Yes.
And okay, so quick. Should we just start with the dresser? Let's just start with the dresser.
I feel like that's really the only, not the only thing in the first 4 chapters, but like the big thing in the first 4 chapters.
Having read the series and coming back to it.
It's so impactful. It's so much foreshadowing. It's amazing.
Okay, I mean, do we start with Feyre's drawer, or do we end with Feyre's drawer?
I feel like we have to end with it.
Okay, so let's start with...
We can start with Elaine.
Let's start with Elaine's drawer.
You know the least about her, because there hasn't been a book written about Elaine.
This is true.
That should be probably, potentially the next one. That's what everybody's hope is.
Yes.
That's what all the theories are.
Yes.
Is that the next book will be about Elaine. So I feel like her dresser drawer is where we will start.
Well, okay, so since we know the least about Elaine, I made a few notes on potential theories, because Nestus and Ferris, which we'll talk about in a sec, are so foreshadowing of what's ahead. So I'm like, Elaine's has to be very intentional too. It can't just be flowers. There has to be more to it. So something I was Googling, I was on the interwebs, and one of the things that I put outside of her love for gardens, what does Elaine's mean? So it says it has roses and violets on it. Mm-hmm. So a rose naturally means love.
Right.
So there's maybe going to be some big love related thing connected to her. But violets often mean death and resurrection.
Okay. I mean, so we can spoil now. So let's just talk about the fact that she goes into the cauldron, becomes reborn.
Right. But Nesta does too. Right. So is this referring to the cauldron? Or maybe that cauldron experience, her resurrection is now, because I know there's a lot of people who will talk about the potential for an evil Elaine.
Right.
So it's in that resurrection, did she become different?
Or because of that resurrection, will she find love?
I don't know. Or is there still a death and resurrection to come? Maybe this potentially evil Elaine needs to die and then be resurrected. I don't know. But I think there's going to be something connected to death and resurrection around it. It can't just be she loves to garden.
Or my theory is why it's flowers is because she's mates with Lucian, who is the Spring Court what is it?
But he's not the spring court.
I know he's not the spring court, but that's where he lives. That's where, like, he meets her because he's there.
Yeah.
And he, potentially, I think he might take over the spring court.
Interesting.
Yes.
This is not about him, but why do you think he'll take over the spring court?
I don't know. I just have this feeling that Tamlin is going to get killed. And he's got nobody to leave it to. And I feel like Lucian would be the next best takeover. Even though there's, he's the Summer Court's, like, love child.
Autumn. Or isn't he?
He's technically Autumn's, but...
Oh, but we know.
We know
he's Summer.
He's Summer Court's child.
Yep.
So he's connected to all these, but I feel like if he becomes ruler of the spring court, he could take over and tie in, like, he could join everyone together. I feel like he's that connector that could join everyone together.
Interesting.
So... I don't want Elaine to love him. I want Elaine and Oz to be together.
Yeah.
But I feel like it could potentially be a spring court related thing.
Right.
Flowers. That's my theory.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it plays out in the next book, because it has to be Elaine in the next book.
Yeah, there's this huge love triangle that we're all dying to know about. And everybody loves Oz. Everybody loves him so much. But also, I love Lucian. He's amazing.
He's not a bad guy. Like, did he mess up a little bit in the first book?
Yes,
but in the second.
But he grows. Like,
he
helped Farrah so much in the first book.
Yes.
And then he, like, tries to help so much.
He's trying so hard with Elaine, too.
I know.
So hard.
And he, like, takes that step back. He, like, tries to give her space. And he's just... I love him so much. He's such a good person.
He is.
I feel like he has the best intentions out of, like, anyone.
He really
and he
is.
deserves to find love. Like,
He
his
does.
brothers hated him. He grew up so hard. He deserves it.
But you just reminded me of something, and this all ties to Elaine. We're not just trying to talk about boys.
Yes.
But he deserves it, but he doesn't act like he deserves it.
Yeah.
Azriel?
I agree.
Azriel very explicitly says, I deserve this.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's a good thing. Like, I understand why he's feeling that way.
Yes.
It makes sense why he's experiencing that.
Right.
But if you truly feel entitled to her, that's not as, like...
I know.
Yes, they both deserve it.
Yes.
But Lucian is like... I'm talking myself into being a Lucian Elaine person. I didn't think I was.
He's the deserving guy.
Oh.
I know. This is my thought.
But I just want Azriel to be happy.
I know. I think there's going to be somebody else. There's got to be somebody else that gets involved, because we can't have one unhappy person. I'm sorry. Like, that's the way books end. Everyone is happy, or they have to be killed off.
And that's classic Sarah J. Maas.
Yes.
Everyone's going to be happy.
Everybody's going to be happy. There will be somebody
or they're
dies.
dead.
Somebody's going to die, but it's not going to... It could be Elaine. She might not resurrect. I don't know.
No.
She has to.
It wouldn't be her. No. I think it could be like Lucian.
No, I
don't want it to be... But she would never kill Azriel.
No, she wouldn't. She can't.
She can't.
Sarah J. Maas, if you are listening, you cannot kill Azriel. No. We forbid it.
Right. But you also... I've told you my theory of evil Elaine, because it talks about how, like, his shadows also, like, respond to her. And so... I have this interesting theory of, like, Azriel saving Elaine in a way. But then also, again, sidetrack, but Gwen also has a potential to be, like, a creature from the box. That's something a whole evil. Other thing.
We're not going to get into that because we're just talking about the dresser.
I think no matter what, Azriel, just, like, to close that one out, he's going to save somebody.
He is. And he's going to find somebody to love and that loves him.
But...
That's all there is for Elaine.
That's all, but, so yeah. So there's not a whole lot for Elaine. I do think she was the second book is when they get flipped into the cauldron at the end. So the third book and Court of Silver Flames, her character confuses me. Like, is she, like, seeing into the future? Is that what's happening in those? I don't know, but she was very, like, not talkative, quiet, alone.
Puppy.
But then she would say random words, and you're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And then it, like, came to be true. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's just very interesting, her character.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how it's going to unfold. But as of right now, I probably care about her the least.
Yes.
So, but you know what? Before A Court of Silver Flames, I cared about Nesta the least. And now she's moved up a little bit, so...
I don't know. It's still debatable for me. But
I mean, I don't love her, but I don't care about her least.
That's true. That is true. Very good. Okay, so Elaine's done. Nesta. Nesta's drawer.
The flames.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to describe
what
was in there? Because I was going to say you did a good job for it.
That's true. Let me... Here it is. So, crackling flames is what she had painted on Nesta. So this immediately makes me think of Nesta's PTSD in Silver Flames, where anytime she looked in the fire, she heard her father's neck cracking.
Oh, yes.
Right, because she couldn't be where there was fire.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that was the very first thing this made me think of, which is sad that this was, low-key predicted a little bit. So that was thing one, and then also, obviously, her, death flame power.
Yes. Whatever the heck that is.
Whatever the heck that is. We'll probably talk about it a lot more during Court of Silver Flames, because my brain, I'll be honest, after reading Court of Silver Flames, I read all 8 Throne of Glass and Crescent City.
Yep.
And so I've forgotten a little bit of Silver Flames.
I need to be a little refreshed on all these, which is good that we're going through all of them.
Exactly. But, so Nesta is the crackling flame, but it's also indicative of her personality.
I was going to say, for me, I just think her personality. I didn't even think about the fact of, her dad and the fires. I forgot about that, but she's literally firecracker of, evil, I think. Of evil, but I know she's not totally evil, but
well, but okay, what I think is so cool about this dresser is it's a picture of who they are in these first few chapters that we just read, but also foreshadowing. It's just covering so many different things. But I mean, so here's the thing with Nesta. I thought she was just the biggest bitch.
Yeah.
For so long. And reading Court of Silver Flames, I think what it was is I started to see Nesta a little bit how Cassian saw Nesta based off of those interactions and how he talked to her and how he interacted with her.
Yeah.
And so I think that softened me to her just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I still don't think she's great. But I think she's better.
She's better. I just feel like she's still the most unappreciative person, and she's still me and wants to throw a pity party for herself when it's she thinks it's so easy for Farah and...
It's not easy for Farah.
She took care of you. She struggled way more than you. I'm sorry you got put into a cauldron and became Fae.
Right.
I'm so sorry. But she also...
died and became Fae.
She died and became Fae. I don't get it.
None of you chose this.
No, but Nesta's always pity party me.
Right.
And even with Court of Silver Flames, I still don't like her anymore.
I mean, by the end, it felt like...
she grew as a person.
She did.
She saves,
Well, and what I'll say is also, I think this was her stepping into that big sister role, but when she told Farah about the concern around her birth, how she might die, and Rhys was pissed.
Yeah.
Which, side note, he shouldn't be. He should have told her in the first place. I'm sorry.
But I get where he's coming from.
I know where he's coming from, but we can't be totally blind to that was a shitty move.
It was, yes.
But I thought Nesta telling Farah that and being I don't care how scary you Fae men are.
Right.
My sister deserved... It was very big sister for
I agree.
her, and I think it showed how she was growing a little bit.
I agree. There was definitely points of redemption, I felt where I was okay, Nesta's not the worst, and she's doing the right thing, but I don't like her pity party self.
She was a little too protective over Elaine also.
I agree.
I was let Elaine make her own flipping decision, please.
Right, for sure. I totally agree. But other than that, Crackling Fire, I mean, I really feel it's indicative of her personality and the neck thing.
And then the Death Flames.
And the Death Flames.
Because it's literal, that book is called Silver Flames.
Yes, that is very true. But so it's foreshadowing, but it's not, I feel it's not but maybe once Elaine's story comes to fruition, it'll be a lot more clear. Yeah. And it'll be obvious why it's a garden painted on there, whereas hers is obvious why it's flames. Yes. So we see
several points where flames are very much it's threaded through her story.
Right.
And then also we have her mating and love affair with Cassian.
Oh yes. I mean,
whom I adore.
That's just fire. So
that is fire. That relationship, fire. Woo! I knew reading these books that there would be some smutty scenes in there. Silver Flames. There were moments where I was reading it and I think my eyes just got so wide because I was what just happened? But I loved every moment of it.
I would not read it when my husband was home. I was I will get too horny. These scenes turn me on way too much. I need to read this by myself when nobody's around.
No, that's the time to read it.
I know. Yes, I want that, but then I'm I don't want to be interrupted. I need to read this by myself.
So funny. There were times where Richard would come up and I'd be I am reading.
Yes.
Please leave me alone.
That was my thing. I was I do not want to be interrupted, but I'm reading these amazing scenes.
Right, and it's just...
But then it's Josh, come home, please, so I can, use these scenes to my advantage.
That's hilarious. No, I remember laying in bed and I'm reading this book and Richard, my husband, comes in wanting to go to bed. And I'm like, I flip and I have like 2 pages left and we're in the middle of like the spiciest scene. And I was like, I need 2 minutes, please. And so I'm like, he's laying right there and I'm just like bringing this book closer to my face. So he's like not observing what I'm reading. And I'm like, just give me 2 minutes. I just need to get through this. Because you can't stop mid-scene.
No, you
either.
can't.
Like, what do I do? Be like, okay, you go to sleep. I'm going to go into the other bedroom and read 2 pages by myself before going to
It's
bed.
like, I need to be by myself so I can read, but then I need you to come home.
Yeah.
Like,
it's fine. I reread the chapter the next day just to, like, help that experience and not have the broken experience that I did the night before. But, woo!
anyways, that's
Silver Flames. Yeah, the title of that book was Her Death Flame Power, but also
Yes.
them. Like, flame is
sure.
the only way to describe it.
Yes.
Like, they were, like... Because, like, okay, Sarah's husband's a firefighter, so I'm sure he's maybe discussed this with you, but the idea of fire, I feel like it starts so small, and then just, like, explodes. Like, it just goes everywhere.
Everywhere, instantly.
Like, instantly. And so that's what their relationship kind of felt like. Because
Yes.
it was just, like... A little bit of kindling, and you're like, you're just like nurturing that kindling, and you're like, come on,
And
light,
it's
light,
like,
light.
bam.
And then boom. Yeah, exactly. I think back to all those times of trying to start fires in your backyards. And it's like that.
Yes.
Like, their relationship is like that. But anywho. Okay, so we've talked and gushed about Nesta and Elaine.
And now the greatest of all.
And now Feyre's drawer,
Oh,
which...
melts my heart.
It says, the night sky, whirls of yellow stars standing in for white around mine.
I love it so much.
The stars.
I know. And it's like she didn't have white paint, so that's why she used yellow. But it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful because we go back to chapter, it would be 54.
Yes.
Which, it's hilarious that I know the exact chapter.
I think every Sarah J. Maas fan knows the exact chapter.
Yeah, because chapter 55 is consummation.
Yes.
But chapter 54 is explanation.
Yes.
And I think I love chapter 54 in Mist and Fury more than I do chapter 55.
It just makes you fall in love with
Reese!
I hate saying his name like that.
I know, I'm sorry. That was a gushing moment for me, and you're cringing over there because of how he said it.
But oh my gosh, it's literally the most beautiful thing ever.
Right.
It's
the
like
idea that he's shooting that image into her brain, like through this bond in like a non-creepy way, I'm just like, stop.
It like melts my heart. It's literally the best chapter in probably all the books.
Honestly.
Just how everything came together. The fact that like it went so far back as to when she was human. That's what blew my mind. Like I got like all of it when they were, under the mountain and all of that. But the fact that when she was human, he still like
he was looking for her.
I know. Oh, that's the first thing he says to her. I'm looking for you.
I know. I love him so much. I'm gonna cry.
The most romantic thing ever. It's so
honestly,
romantic.
when I feel sad, I literally just go read chapter 54.
Oh.
Like that is how I bring myself out of sadness.
It's amazing.
It's the sweetest thing.
Just the fact that like he's Night Court and she painted it.
I know.
I love it so much.
And like imagine her like painting that, right? And she's thinking, what do I paint of myself?
Right.
And that's what she chooses.
Yeah.
Of anything. Like she's a hunter, she could paint the woods, or I don't know, like she's a painter, she could paint like
herself on there.
Herself, she could paint like her art supplies. Like there's so many things you could put on there. And she chose the night sky.
I know.
She chose the night sky.
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
So romantic.
It's so beautiful.
It's true love.
Ugh. And then also like let's talk about like Feyre's growth as a character.
Yes.
Because when I first read Courts of Thorns and Roses, I gave it 4 stars. Because I really liked this book, but half the time I was like, Feyre, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're just dumb. Come on.
Like, why are you being dumb?
Yeah.
I was like, I love a strong female character, but like she can be smart too.
Yes.
Like she doesn't have to be dumb. Like, why are we playing into this? And this was just before I knew and understand Sarah J. Maas. But like she's like she grows into such a like strong and powerful like female, and it's amazing.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing seeing that growth. Oh, she's just such an inspiration.
I know. Oh, I just love it so much.
I love it so much.
I know, it's like, there's really nothing to talk about other than I just love it so much. And like, it's the most beautiful, like, love story.
Yes.
Like,
now, she is not defined by her love story, but...
Doesn't matter. It's the best part of the book.
It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. And whenever I think about that dresser, I think it's so interesting because it's like... so, like, we talked about these Archeron sister t-shirts we bought, right?
Yeah.
But it shows this same design of the three sisters. But it's like, in a way... Okay, theory. Well, I'm coming to this. So we've talked about the potential foreshadowing in this.
Yes.
This is making me think about what you said earlier, about how it's also indicative of who they love.
Yeah.
Like, that truly, I'm, like, connecting these pieces, because Feyre's is the Night Court, Rhys.
Right.
Nesta's is Fire, Cassian.
Yeah. But I mean,
Flower.
Fire is not truly indicative of Cassian.
I mean...
On his own, I would have never...
think so!
Would you have associated Cassian with Fire had Nesta not chosen him?
I think, soul-wise, yes.
Okay.
I think he's full of that fierceness and that
Okay.
spark.
I can see what you're saying.
And,
yeah.
like, I think it's indicative, or at least, let's say, of that relationship.
Okay, yeah.
So, that relationship, Fire.
Yes.
Her relationship with Rhys, Night Court,
Right.
stars, dreaming.
Oh, yeah, all of it.
All of that. And then Elaine's, you have florals, like, who does that mean Elaine loves, right? Like, to what you're saying, Lucien. I can totally see how that plays in.
Ooh, I hope my theory's
so
right.
interesting.
I know. Like, I never really even thought about it until we started talking about this, but I was like, I feel like Lucien could be, like, the spring court.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
I just didn't connect. Like, I always connected Feyre's to Rhys, but I didn't think, like, maybe this dresser shows who they are at the beginning, foreshadowing of their lives, and
who they love.
Who they love.
I mean, it's pretty impressive, Sarah J. Maas.
Like, how in the world?
I don't know.
Is it all those things?
I don't know. But it's like Lucien could be so many other things. Like, it doesn't... Like, maybe she falls in love with Tamlin. Who knows? Because he truly is spring.
Okay, that's another thing. We're getting back to Elaine. But, like, people also talk about how Tamlin deserves a redemption arc.
Does.
And Elaine is the one to bring in. Here's the thing. People can just suck. He doesn't need a redemption arc.
No, but he does. Because I get... Like, I totally understand why Feyre hates him. Yes. But I feel like... Everything he did, he truly was doing for her and out of love.
Know.
He just shows love differently.
It was out of his trauma.
Like, I know, and he was so, like, just trying to protect her. So it's like, I can't be mad at him. Like, I'm mad, but, like, I can't hate him. Like, I want right for him. And it's like, everything he did, like, afterwards, too, was truly for Feyre.
In some ways, but then when he comes to the session with all the other High Lords of the courts, and he's like, oh, you know that noise Feyre makes? That's not for Feyre.
No, but that's just male behavior. Like, that's typical male behavior.
That's true.
But I do think...
Maybe it's... Oh, God. That would be weird. I don't know how I would feel about that.
I don't necessarily want Elaine with Tamlin, but I do think Tamlin deserves somebody. Yeah. And I feel like... I think that's probably the only way that, like, Feyre would ever forgive Tamlin.
Yeah.
Because, in the end, everybody's going to be happy. They have to be. So... I feel like maybe that's a potential.
Or dead. Maybe
Tamlin sacrifices himself.
Oh.
But like, that's truly an act of love. I don't know.
That is. But the whole relationships also reflecting this makes me think that Elaine will not end up with Azriel, because I see no way that them in a relationship could be representative of, like, a garden scene.
And I feel like it's almost like everyone wants it too much that she's not going to do it.
It would be too perfect.
It's too predictable. It's too
like,
perfect.
Sarah J. Maas gives us happy endings.
Oh, yeah.
But she's not predictable.
No. Some of the things, yes. But, like, in general, like, no.
Right. On a slightly connected note, Crescent City, which has just the one book, has a main character called Hunt, right? I saw a really funny TikTok the other day of it was something along the lines of, like, when you fall in love with, like, the main character on the first book, but Sarah J. Maas's style of how it's never the first one.
It's never the first one. That's so true.
So that's completely unrelated to this book, but classic Sarah J. Maas.
Yes.
Of switching up the So...
Who knows?
At first, Elaine was clearly into Azriel.
Yeah. Maybe
Would
not.
it say? I don't think she'd let it. It was too ready.
I know.
Oh, this is so interesting.
I know. So, but anything else about Feyre?
Let's think.
Rhys?
Well, we're talking about Feyre.
Feyre. I know. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else about
I know.
her dresser.
It's hard to differentiate. Also, I think something that has come to mind rereading these books and just like thinking through the early stages of her character, the fact that she can't read.
Yes.
Like, and then also I'm remembering how Reese has her write the sentences.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
I know. I could just gush about Reese all day, but she can't read.
Right.
So she must feel like totally crappy about herself with that.
Sure.
Especially since later on this book she almost dies because of it.
So does Lucian.
Yeah, so does Lucian. But I think that's really interesting how in so many ways she had these shortcomings earlier in life that she couldn't help a lot of these. And she's like actively worked to overcome them because like now she reads. And so it's just like it's really impressive of her character of like always like looking to like do the right thing, but also like grow herself in these little ways that like might not be super fancy or important.
Yeah, but I feel like she's always dreaming about like better, which
Yeah.
I love.
Well, then now she's also a painter, which also somehow plays out in her dreams because she kind of processes those dreams and thoughts in her paint. And I think if you had to pick a style of Feyre as a painter, who do you think it would be like?
Ooh. I feel like Georgia O'Keeffe.
Interesting.
Like I see like very like soft and like like not like realistic but not realistic. Like, and I feel like Georgia O'Keeffe's like it's like all the pretty florals and like it's subtle, but it's like you know what it is.
Right. I see that.
Also, I don't know many painters' names off the top of my head, and like hers is a name that I know, and like I know what her stuff looks like.
Yeah, I like how it's like a little abstract too.
Yeah. Which one? What do you have pulled up?
I have like.
Oh yeah.
I just Googled Georgia O'Keeffe, but like I see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Who do you have in mind?
I thought for similar reasons, I couldn't think of an actual like artist, but an era. I just really think about like the Impressionist era, where it's those soft lines,
right?
And you can tell what it is, but it's a little obscured.
Yeah.
Also,
so I feel like that gives you like room for thought, and it's like
because according to how people react to her paintings, they're very deep.
Right.
They're not just like surface level.
Right. So I'm thinking it's not just a picture of what it is. Like she's not drawing exactly as she sees. It's more like thought provoking.
Yeah.
So that's a good question. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I just like think about. I'm curious when it becomes a TV show how they depict that.
That will be interesting.
Especially the idea of like the night sky on her dresser. I pictured the classic like Van Gogh.
I do too. Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But let's see what else about Feyre. Okay, the last thing I think is hilarious about Feyre is that her name is Feyre. And it's a world of fairies.
Yeah.
And I was like, we couldn't have picked a different
I
name.
know. I don't like her name. I actually don't like any of their names. Feyre, Nesta, or Elaine. Elaine's like, meh. But like, I really don't like Nesta or Feyre.
Yeah. That is our first mini-sode, gushing a little bit about the Archeron sisters. Do you agree?
I agree. I totally agree.
Well, do they agree? Do they disagree? I don't know. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening to A Court of Fairies and Fangirls, a Sarah J. Maas fan podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And let us know what you think. Jump in on the conversation. We look forward to chatting with you more next week. Bye-bye.